postseason. They advance to 14-0 when they hold teams under 100 points. They've had the third best defensive rating in the NBA in the playoffs, third best offense as well. And this game for the Spurs started off on a 12-2 run. Everybody was coming out firing, specifically the three-point shot, but Julian Champagnie was really, really good at the start of this game, hitting 4 of those 7 threes in the first half. The Spurs shot 67% in the first half, really, really setting the tone. They led 36-24 after the first quarter. They outscored Portland by 8 in the second. And again, Portland knew that they were against the wall. Their time was coming. They were down in this series. They needed to force a Game 6 back in Portland, but the San Antonio Spurs, they did not want to go back on a flight, almost a 4-hour flight from San Antonio to go back to Portland. That won't happen. Spurs get the job done. I mentioned Julian Champagnie. He set the tone. He's someone that did not get many looks in this series. The most shots he had taken in this series in a game was 7. Tonight he got 9. 6 of 9 from the field, 5 of 7 from 3. Also rebounded really, really well. 7 rebounds in this game, 19 points, the second most on the Spurs, and just looked ultra comfortable hitting shots over everybody there. Over Klingon, was open. His teammates found him, and Champagnie did a great job. All 5 Spurs starters in double figures, plus Dylan Harper off the bench with 17. We know the Spurs had 7 guys average double figures in the regular season. They get 6 tonight, and again, a 114-95 win. The Jackals are pumped up, and I'm assuming Mitch Johnson is pumped up. Let's go to him live right now at the podium.
Mitch, you held these guys 3 times under 100. What did you think of the defensive effort? And along those lines, the effort of the defensive player of the year as well.
Yeah, that's a good effort. If you don't know anything else on the surface level, when you talk about, excuse me, but 5 NBA games and 3 of them didn't go over 100, and then the 2 that did were 106 and 108. If you just take that on face value, that's a job well done. And then, I think we had a few games where the second chance points hurt us. We had a few games where the points off turnovers, our turnovers, hurt us. And so when you actually put that into the equation, that means the half-court defense was maybe even a little better than some of those numbers would say. And so a lot of room for improvement and some things to take away that we've done a good job on that we continue to be better at.
You talked about getting off to a good start, had Julian come out of the chute with 11 points, also hitting the boards really well. What did you see from him early on?
It was as sharp as we've been in terms of 5 guys on the court with just game plan execution and then putting really, really solid fundamentals on top of it. And then again, as we've talked about all year, we got talented guys. So when you put game plan execution and fundamentals on top of it, they're going to make some wild plays. But when you go back and look at the passing, the boxing out, the spacing, the running, it was high level.
What did you think of De'Aaron Fox's performance? I know after Game 4 you said that it might have been his best game as a Spur.
He's done this in his career. He was the clutch player of the year for a reason. He's in a different situation now in terms of, at times, having the basketball in his hands at that volume every single night in the fourth quarter. And he may be as good as any player I've ever seen in terms of balancing how to play off it and then when to go on it. And when he gets on it, he doesn't mess around and he gets right to it. And when we help him with our organization and our spacing and to give him space to operate, we'll be even that much better. But he took over the game clearly again tonight.
Coach, obviously the Blazers made a run there in the second half. How valuable an experience is that for you and your guys to, face off against a team that's, fighting with their last breath for their survival like that?
Yeah, it felt like we weren't sharp for a stretch there. And there's as competitive group as that I've seen in this league. Tiago's done a hell of a job. I mean, those guys play so hard for him and how competitive and physical. And I would expect nothing less. And it did feel like we let our foot off the gas. The NBA games are long, so that's not an excuse. That means we got to be better. But, zero lead changes is zero lead changes. So, you know, you can talk out of both sides of your mouth, but that's pretty damn impressive too. But obviously there was a stretch there where we needed to be sharper and got to continue to play games like they're 0-0 every single possession.
Mitch, before the game, you talked about this being the first closeout game for this team and first series win for this team as you as the head coach. So what have you kind of grown over these last series with your first experience in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think, you know, all the things that are discussed regarding the playoffs are real, obviously. The physicality, the competitiveness, every single possession is survival. And I think when you play a team, every single day that you play a game, it comes a lot less of cute strategy. And I think there's a lot of ways that I can continue to help these guys more than I did these 5 games, but it was a whole lot of fun and they did a great job. And I was just really pleased with their competitive response again against a team that I think has been as competitive and as physical as we've seen all year. And not just during the playoffs, that was during the regular season as well.
Carolina Teague with Perfect. Coach, first of all, congratulations on moving on to the next round. What did this group prove to you about themselves over the course of the series?
I think the thing that they've proved is what they've proved all year. We have a lot of room to improve. We have a lot of things that we can be better at. But we're ready to step in. We're ready to step up to the plate and swing. And that's a fun thing to be a part of.
Yeah, Coach, these guys were talking about, you know, in the week leading up to this series, there's going to be more media, more eyes, more attention and pressure and everything that goes with that. You know, how have you seen this group and just what did you make of the way that they've been able to stay true to what you guys have preached all year, not let that kind of creep in? And specifically regarding the lack of experience, how have you seen them kind of deny that narrative and just play the game of basketball y'all are used to?
Yeah, again, I think we've done a good job of that all year. I think there's a lot of external that's been added and will continue to be added, but if anything, I think our excitement and enthusiasm for the moment at times is what we have to continue to balance and remove the emotion from. But I'm not worried about media or lights or national TV or whatever that stuff is. I think it's fun and exciting, and a lot of people will talk about it, but I think our group is comfortable in that. Not saying that we'll be perfect, but I'm more worried about transition defense and continue spacing and setting good screens.
Coach, you've gotten this all year long offensively, but in a closeout game to have 6 guys in double figures, including all 5 starters, for them to meet the moment and, like I said, offensively put up that kind of production, is how big that was for you guys tonight.
Yeah, as you said, it's been a part of kind of the regular schedule programming all year. I think Victor had at some point 4 or 6 points, and we had almost 50 points. It was just, it's our shot every possession. We did a great job of that. He was creating so much gravity. We were passing the ball. Guys were getting out and getting threes to Julian, and we're best when we're playing in space and playing fast. And when you do that, a lot of people can benefit.
Mitch,
We're going to bring in Steph Castle. Thank you.
All right, there's your head coach, Mitch Johnson, after the Spurs get the W, 114-95, the final. Jacob Toby, Dan Weiss, radio announcer for the Spurs, just called this game. Dan, what stood out to you as the biggest key of how the Spurs got the job done tonight?
This place, as you can hear behind us, was ready to explode right from the tip-off of this game. And the Spurs gave them a reason to continue the party right through the first half. I mean, they got up by 12 points at the end of the first quarter. They were up by 28 at one point before halftime. I mean, they were, as you would expect in a closeout game, taking it to Portland, didn't let up, and then basically kind of, really had to withstand Portland's fight in the second half as, the Blazers tried to muck it up. In which case, then, you turn to the old steady hand, De'Aaron Fox, who was phenomenal again in the fourth quarter. And like I said on the radio, it's the reason you go get a De'Aaron Fox for those moments when you need a steady veteran presence in the fourth quarter to take you home in that type of game, and that's what De'Aaron Fox did.
13 of his 21 coming in the fourth quarter, coming off of what Mitch Johnson called his best game as a Spur last game in Portland, and he follows it up with the best fourth quarter by a Spur in a little while in terms of what it meant, right? Getting a playoff win, a series clinching win, and moving on for the first time since 2017.
Yeah, and again, I think this is just another step, right? These have all been a series of steps this season for this ball club. Making the playoffs one, now winning a playoff series is another in that step. And they did it by the way they did it all season on the defensive end. And they hold the Blazers below 100 points in 3 of the 5 games of this series. And they're unbeaten now in 14 games, including the playoffs, when they hold an opponent below 100 points. I mean, from a team that for the last few years is in the bottom third in defensive rating, to turn it around to become number 3 in defensive rating has been a remarkable turnaround. And they always say, Jacob, offense wins you games, defense wins you championships. They're playing championship level defense right now.
And got to shout out the associate head coach, Sean Sweeney, who came over and brought that defensive mentality to this squad. You know, you talk about the relentlessness of this team. The threes were falling, obviously, in that first half, tied for the best first half shooting season in regular season or postseason so far for the Spurs this year. Dylan Harper continuing to go to the rack, 17 points off the bench. He was awesome again.
Yeah, another great game from Dylan Harper. I mean, I think, you know, we saw, again, you and I talked about a little bit of the future and the present in Dylan Harper's performance in Game 3 on Friday night and tonight. You know, responding after maybe wasn't his best follow-up game in game number 4, but what he does good is what, you know, he does basically all season is get downhill and make something happen at the rim. And even in the presence of big-time rim protectors like Donovan Clingan and Robert Williams III, I mean, there's no fear in Dylan Harper. There's no fear in Stephon Castle. There's no fear in any of these guys to attack the basket, and that's really been fun to call throughout the year.
Oh, absolutely. And when things don't go right from 3, you always have that relentlessness that those guys bring to this squad, which is driving to the rim, getting fouled, getting to the free throw line. And we saw that down the stretch when maybe some of the shots weren't falling, but they always went to the rim.
Yeah, and I can't stress enough the defensive presence tonight, the individual defensive efforts. Obviously, Victor with the 6 blocks. But the block by Devin Vassell on Donovan Clingan with the Mutombo finger wave off is going to live in my mind for a long, long time. That was one of the finest defensive plays that I've seen this season. You were talking about the threes.
Yes.
And I got a chance to catch up with Julian Champagnie, who got this party started in the first quarter after the game tonight. At 11 in the first quarter, it was reminding me of the New Year's Eve game, the way you were stroking that three-pointer in the first 12 minutes.
Yeah, you know, my teammates kept finding me. Obviously, this whole series I've been patient, just waiting for the opportunity to shoot the basketball. And I feel like tonight I got a bunch of them. So, you know, my teammates always tell me to be confident, be aggressive. So when they were swinging it, you know, I got to shoot it.
Yeah, no, and I don't think anybody has to tell you to shoot it twice.
No.
But having said that, you know, big difference, obviously, in the last 2 games in Portland, you guys digging yourselves a big hole and then fighting your way back to get the 2 wins. And tonight, completely different, obviously establishing such a big-time first-half lead. And then, for all intents and purposes, literally fighting off the Blazers there in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're a scrappy team. Shout out to them. Obviously, we give them credit when credit is due. They came back and they punched us in the mouth a little bit in that third and fourth quarter. So, you know, obviously just coming back out and closing the game out was important for us.
And how important is it to get this done in 5 games, particularly with the potential of the series that you're looking at possibly going, you know, as deep as 7 games and maybe having a week off until you see an opponent that could be pretty weary?
It's good, man. You know, rest is a big thing in the NBA, and we don't get too much of it during the season. Obviously, we play game after game, back-to-backs, and 1 day in between. So if we can get some good quality rest, that'll be great. You know, the more rested team is always the one who's ready to attack first. So we'll see how that goes.
It's funny because, I mean, it felt like we spent the entire year on the road, and then we had this last month in April at home where we spent 2.5 weeks at home going into the playoffs. And here we are again. We're going to have another basically week and a half spent here at home when you include the first 2 home games. You guys are finally getting used to having some home cooking here in these parts.
I'm getting to enjoy my bed a little bit. I paid a lot of money for it, so I'm getting to enjoy it a little bit. So it's pretty good.
Enjoy that bed tonight. I'm sure you and the rest of your teammates are going to sleep well after this one. Congrats on the win. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us. We'll see you for round 2.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate you.
Julian Champagnie, our impact player of the game, joining us downstairs as the Spurs get the win.
That was Jules with you, Dan. Again, what a great story he is. Undrafted, waived by the 76ers, and he just hit what, 5 threes to send the Spurs to the second round. What a story.
Yeah, the most threes in the first half, 4 since Danny Green back in 2016. So, yeah, I mean, it's quite a story. And, you know, I know Brad Stevens just won Executive of the Year earlier today, but I mean, that's a Brian Wright win there in Julian Champagnie, developing through the Austin Spurs, turning it into a one-way contract. And I mean, what a player he has become, what an important rotation player he has become on a playoff team going to the second round right
Spurs
now.
#1 in the NBA in the playoffs in three-point percentage, 42% I believe the number is. So he has contributed to that. Only got 7 shots as the most in a single game this playoff series. He got 9 tonight, so he got a couple more shots up than he normally did in the playoffs. So the Spurs are on to the second round. Who are they playing? When will the game be? I have